Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Career Fox TV. I'm Nancy Fox, the Career Fox, and today we're going to be talking about one of my favorite topics, which is how to mentally prepare for that all-important job interview. Or it can also work really great if you're in a performance evaluation meeting, asking for a promotion, or even if you decide to go for self-employment and you're in a pitch meeting with a potential client. This works great. And the thing is, most of us prepare really well. There's a lot of information out on the web on how to prepare for those all-important job interview questions, whether they be skill questions or tactical questions, strategic questions, or even those behavioral questions. There's a lot of information about that. But so few people pay any attention on how to mentally prepare, how to get yourself really powerfully, confidently set up for success, how to win that inside game of the job interview, or really across your whole career. But this is such important work. Now, the reason I say that this is so important is because, in any kind of interview situation, or when you're working with people where there might be a stress factor involved, you really have to understand that you want to get your mind working in concert with you. And I'm not just talking about your logical mind. That we're all very, very well trained in how to learn, how to strategically think, how to tactically think, how to analyze. That we're really good at. How to memorize. That we're really good at. We really work on that part. We spend most of our time on that. And that's the conscious part of our minds. We're very, very adept at doing that. But what we don't work on is the subconscious mind. And the subconscious mind is the part of your mind that will work against you when you're in any kind of stressful or doubtful situation. And when you're in a job interview, there's very few situations that are more concerning or can bring up your self-doubt or your really tap into your lack of confidence if you don't really get yourself mentally properly set up. So I want to give you some, a really important tool for that, and I'm going to give that to you in just a moment. But I want to tell you the three-step process that I teach my students when they're getting ready to go into an all-important job interview meeting. Now, I want to actually, before I jump into that, I want to tell you about my client Alex, who in the past had really suffered some really big disappointments before we started working together. He'd go into job interviews. He was very, very successful guy and had lost his job, and now was in that whole job interview process. He'd gotten interviews. He was doing quite well. He was actually in one of his, I think he was in his third interview, and he was pretty sure he was going to get the invitation to join the company. He was going to get the offer. And what happened was, the person that he was interviewing with at this point was his potential boss. And his boss looked at his phone and got a message and said, I have to excuse myself, I have an emergency. And he left the room for about 25 minutes. And in that 25 minutes, Alex was starting to get very disconcerted. He was worried. He was thinking maybe they were talking about him. They had all these thoughts going through his head. And he started to have a lot of self-doubt come up. And he started to feel pretty anxious. He could feel the anxiety building. And he was really trying to control it, trying to get himself calmed down. But by the time his potential boss came back in the room, he sort of had been thrown off his game. And he could feel that the energy between the two of them just had gone off the tracks. And he was struggling to bring it back, but then he started to notice that the body language of his potential boss had shifted. The eye contact wasn't there. The click factor had left the room, right? With this potential boss, the click factor had gone. And now Alex was feeling, very doubtful, and things started to go awry from there. So what happened was Alex did not get that job, and by the time we got together, I started to really dig in there with him, and I started to teach him how to use his subconscious mind to work in his favor along with his conscious mind. Most of us know that we can get a lot of information about how to prepare and how to practice those all-important questions that are very likely to come up in any kind of job interview meeting, and really get set up for that, to study the company, to learn about the people in the company, you can do a lot of research and get prepped that way. But what doesn't get talked about, what doesn't really get worked on, is the mental side of the game. And that's the part that I really want to share with you. But let's talk about the whole process here. First of all, I want to talk to you a little bit about the difference between the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. The conscious mind is it's the largest part of our brain, and it's what we are very adept at using. We are very well trained in memorizing and in learning. That's the part of our brain that we're used to really working on. And it will help us as we prep with those questions that we practice and we get ourselves set up that way. So that's the great part of that part of our mind. The subconscious mind is where all of your emotional triggers are stored, and all of the thoughts that bring you self-doubt and worry and fear. That's where all of that is stored. So anything that sets you into a pathway that is bringing up any kind of doubt or concern or a lack of confidence is going to activate that part of the brain, and it starts to mushroom. And that's where it gets very dangerous for you. That's where you can start to lose your own power. So however, the good news is that if you teach your subconscious mind how to work in your favor, you start to set some habitual thinking in play, and it can work now to be your champion, to help you actually tap into answers that you didn't even know you had, that were stored deep in your mind. Anytime something unexpected happens, if you learn how to tap into the subconscious part of your mind, it will bring forward a lot of creative thinking. It will bring forward answers, solutions that you didn't even know were sitting in there waiting for you to just have at the ready. So learning how to use your subconscious mind as your cheerleader and as your support system is a really important tool. Most of us never learn how to do that. Now, how do I do that with my clients? I use a technique with them that I call visualization. And it's really something that athletes know. Professional athletes use this all the time. Sports psychologists use this with their clients all the time. Performers, actors and actresses, singers, all kinds of performers use visualization all the time. And this is a technique where you're actually tapping into the deepest resources of your subconscious mind and painting pictures for your mind as if you're actually living in that situation, and you're seeing it moment by moment, step by step, action by action, and you're teaching your subconscious mind how to respond before you're actually in that situation. It's really fascinating because you're teaching your subconscious mind to create thought by thought by thought by thought, and practicing it regularly before you're actually going into the scenario the situation you're going to be in. This visualization process is so powerful because your subconscious mind does not know the difference between your thinking that's going to happen in the future and your thinking that's happening in the exact time that you're actually in the situation. Time is not a factor for your subconscious mind. It only knows one thing, the present. So if you're visualized, that's what it knows. And there have been studies done to prove that for those people who use only practice and go into a situation, and people who use practice plus visualization, and unquestionably those who use visualization in accordance with practice, 99% of the time come out ahead. And that's because your subconscious mind is enhancing all of your thinking and your behaviors to go in concert with each other. It's powerful, powerful stuff. Now, with my clients, I'll very often give them a visualization exercise, and sometimes I'll even give them a customized recording that they listen to on a regular basis to help them with the visualization process. So when in total, I'm giving people a 3-step process. First of all, of course, you're going to be using your traditional practicing methods for using those, practice your questions, do the research before you go into an interview. Obviously, that's a very, very important part of the equation. Number 2, you're going to review what I call the victory accomplishment log. Now, if you've been following along with me, you'll know that I highly endorse a practice that is all about keeping a very, very consistent and specific log of every single accomplishment that you make in your career. It's really, really important. Most people don't do it until they start writing their resume or rewriting their LinkedIn profile, but by then it's almost too late because you've forgotten a lot of the wonderful things that you've accomplished. I'll give you an example. One of my clients, as we were getting her LinkedIn profile ready, she didn't even realize that she had some tangible accomplishments. She's a specialist in helping companies get ready for trade shows and sales meetings, and she helps them get leads. And she didn't even realize that that was a tangible accomplishment that she had been developing. She just was looking at her activities and her tasks, not at her accomplishments. And she also didn't even realize that she had been a team builder, and she'd built the right team to help her companies accomplish those very important results, those tangible results. So I really encourage my clients to use the victory accomplishment log, which I show them how to actually list out on a regular basis, week by week, all of their accomplishments. So by the time they're going into interviews, by the time they're going into job performance meetings, they're ready, and they've reviewed this, so they're ready with those answers, and they're stored up in their conscious mind and also in the subconscious mind. So step one, do your research, practice your your answering of your questions, of course. Review your victory accomplishment log. Ideally you've been keeping that up to date, and if you haven't, well, I'm going to give you a link that you can access, and you can start right now. So make sure you download that. It's a free download for you, and I've mapped it all out. And I know you could do it yourself, but I've given it to you in a nice pretty chart, so you'll have it at the ready to use week by week. And finally, use visualizations. Now, visualization is something where you're going to set 10 to 15 minutes aside every single day, and you're going to run through in your mind what your interview is going to look like, what your job performance evaluation meeting is going to look like, what your interviewer is going to say, what you're going to say, what you're going to do if something happens that's off the, that's sort of, off the beaten track, and it comes at you from left field. You're going to teach your mind to be ready, and it's going to sound something like, no matter what happens in that interview meeting, no matter what happens in that job performance meeting, no matter what happens in that client pitch meeting, my subconscious mind is going to be ready to feed me the right answer, the right responses, and I'm going to be calm, cool, collected, and I'm going to be ready for all of that no matter what happens in that meeting. And when you teach your mind and you start to visualize it and play it and use it on a daily basis and practice it before you go into any kind of potentially stressful meeting, your subconscious mind is going to now be your champion, your cheerleader, and it's going to be your automatic, it's going to work for you on autopilot. It's a phenomenal tool. So I highly encourage you to use it. And I'm going to be talking more in detail about visualization, like what it actually sounds like and looks like in future videos. So make sure you stay tuned for that. All right, you guys, so that's it from me today. Make sure that you do the 3-step process. 1, do your research and your practicing of your questions. Number 2, review your victory accomplishment log, and really emotionalize about that. Make sure that you feel the emotion and the pride in that, and celebrate those victories that you've done. And every single one of them matters. And 3rd, make sure you use your visualization tool 10 to 15 minutes every single day. You're gonna thank me for it. You're gonna feel so much more powerful, so much more confident. And listen, confidence in winning that inner game, being mentally prepared, is more than half the battle, I promise you. All right, you guys, Nancy Fox, the Career Fox, and I will see you next time. Oh, and by the way, don't forget, if you like what you've been learning in these videos, please hit the subscribe button, and definitely post your questions and tell me what you want to be learning. If you want more inner game information, I'd love to share that with you. If you want more tactical information, please tell me what you want to be learning. I can't wait to be sharing this with you in the upcoming weeks. I release a video every Tuesday. All right, you guys, have a great one, and to your prosperous career. Bye-bye.